ask yourself, how do you feel about Congress today? How are we going to solve the problems? How are we going to get the business done of the United States of America? Right now, it doesn't matter how good your resume is. If you're a Republican, you're a Republican. If you're a Democrat, you're a Democrat. There are no independents in the House of Representatives. And the two factions are fighting against each other to the point where it's dysfunctional. And we all realize it. The simple things that they promised us, they have not done. Fixing the corporate tax rate. They're trying to make the budget so it makes more sense. But where are they getting the money? They're getting the money from student loans. They're getting the money from seniors. They cut into the military pension. Okay, it was 1%, but shouldn't this be sacred? Shouldn't a promise be a promise? We have to protect our seniors. I'm studying gerontology at George Mason University. I also have a business background. I have a full career in tourism, and I was manager of national sales for Eastern Airlines. And when Eastern ceased operations, I went into the financial world, and I started in U.S. government debt. So I do understand the debt. I understand that this is a situation that needs to be fixed, and it needs to be fixed fast. We have some very serious problems. But in the meantime, so we're fiscally responsible, but what's happening is we're getting caught up in the social issues. So I personally am socially inclusive. My mother and my aunt and my grandmother fought hard for women's rights, and I think we need to keep our rights, especially our right to choose what to do with our bodies, and we deserve equal pay. I know what it feels like to have the guy working next to me making more money than I am, and I am doing the exact same job. I know what it feels like to be downsized and laid off. One time I worked for a corporation, they accidentally laid off all the women, and they came back to me and said, oh gee, that was an accident. I mean, this is something that we need to fight for. I also think we need to fight for marriage equality. So when I say socially inclusive, I mean I have respect for everyone. And I think there's certain groups that we really have to champion and other groups that need to be brought along. So I also think we need a strong national defense. And we see this today. We just came out of a war, as everybody knows, for so long. And now we have one of the most evil terrorist operations in the world that has emerged. And they have threatened to come here. And it's something that we really need to pay serious attention to. So what do we do here? We need to invest in students. And I have a real problem with the student debt because Congress does charge what I consider a usury rate of 205 basis points over the 10-year note for student interest rates. And I think it should be a lot lower than that because we need our students to study math and study science and come to places like Northern Virginia that has a rich history of technological innovations. ARPANET was developed here, as most of you know, and so that's the precursor to the internet. And that was a huge boom. And we can look at our economy in the late 90s, and it just proves if we have something new, it's going to really help this economy. Two issues here. One is the issue of respect for the older worker, and then the other issue is going to be an issue of education. And I think the respect comes from our society, and it's something that we need to continue to work on. I think that older people have so much to offer, and it's certainly from an advice and wisdom point of view. And I think that education is also an important thing because as there are technological changes, that there should be some form of education that is available to the older workers to make sure that they keep up with all the new innovations that are coming out. I know I have a 22-year-old campaign manager. I have two campaign managers. One is 22, and she's a whiz on the computer. And I think that if I'm going to keep up with that, I need to, go back and have training. And I think depending on the job you have is going to depend on how much training you need. And that's something that we can do in Congress. The other thing that we can do is work to pass laws that would ensure that everybody's pension is protected and that they're, of course, again, treated with respect and get the education that they need. And one of the people I grew up with was Claude Pepper. And today, I don't see anybody in Congress who's really a champion for the seniors, and that's one of the reasons that I'm running. I've also known Bill Nelson most of my life, and he is on the Senate side, and he is very much a champion for seniors. So I will be there for the seniors. As a businesswoman running a campaign, it's actually surprising how little it takes to run the campaign. If you take out the steak dinners and you take out paying yourself a salary, which is legal, you can pay yourself the same salary you made the year before, and I think you average the last 2 years together. So look at the candidates that you're voting for. Are they paying themselves a salary? Eric Cantor spent $280,000 on steak dinners, which is the exact amount that his opponent spent on the entire campaign. So think about where the money is going. If you see these guys and women jetting all over the country, who's paying for that? You know, look at it, and it's very serious. I think we really need to take a step back and look at what the candidates are spending our money on. If we're donating $100 that's hard-earned money, are they fiscally responsible with it? Are they putting it in a place that makes any sense? Because money doesn't vote, people vote. It's a serious problem, not only for the other Muslims, especially for Christians, especially for Jewish people, and the way they treat women is deplorable. ISIS is going in, and they're walking up to people and saying, you join us, and you convert to Islam, or we're going to kill you. And they kill them. And if you're a Christian, they're going to burn down the church, and if you're lucky, they might let you leave, but they're probably going to kill you. These are the same types of people that shot Malala point blank in the head. They took the 200 Nigerian girls out of school and kidnapped them. We still haven't found them. And the women, the first thing they do is tell them to go home from school. There's now what they call a sex jihad, where they're telling the families that they have to send the young women to be with the soldiers. And it's absolutely deplorable. They're very, very evil and very scary. And there's not going to be any rights. And they have threatened to come here. They have done everything that they said they're going to do. And I think that we need to do everything in our power to stop them. And right now we have a serious vacuum of leadership. And we're going to need some strong leaders to step in. The bombings certainly don't look like they've worked. Well, I guess I am idealistic. I think that we need to build badly needed coalitions in Congress. Democrats and the Republicans don't talk to each other. Obamacare is a classic example. The Obamacare, there are some parts of it that I really like, and one would be that we have pre-existing conditions that are now covered, and we can keep our children on until they're 26 years old. But it does hurt businesses. It does need to be fixed. There is a remarkable amount of people that have signed up for it, so there are good parts to it. But the Democrats say we're going to keep it like it is because the Republicans are saying we've got to repeal and replace. So it's the same thing with the budget. And if we don't get up there and get the coalitions together and get them talking and working together, none of the stuff matters. Because if we look back the last, 4 years, 5 years, it's the same stuff. If you vote for a Republican, you're going to get the same thing. If you vote for a Democrat, you're going to get the same thing too.